Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Let's just dive in. Could be interesting, might be a total disaster, who knows. We're going to move over now and start editing how this looks. The reason I thought this could be interesting is because this also then allows you to see what the transactional writing looked like and how it compares to the creative writing. Both of these are a pretty big deal. So we're just going to change the title, obviously. We're going to turn it into creative writing. And the other thing you'll probably notice as you watch my videos is that my confidence with the iPad and how it all works is getting a lot better. This is a pretty new thing for me. I've been teaching for 15 years, but I never really used technology like iPads. I used lots of other tech, but iPads wasn't one of them. What I just erased, you probably just saw, was type audience purpose subject, which is what you need for transactional writing. For creative writing, what you need is P, nice and easy. The 4 Ps, there's actually several more Ps, but these are the main ones. So it's people, place, pace, and of course plot. I think that's the best order, actually. Why are the people, aka the characters, important? The main reason that the people or the characters are important is because they sort of give a sense of the experience of your story, and also they drive the plot forwards. They drive the plot. Without characters doing things, then how can you drive the plot forwards, right? It doesn't really make sense. So you need those plot drivers. The plot obviously is important because this is what's happening. This is what engages the reader and actually makes it worth reading. The place is important because obviously it gives a setting to everything, like the backdrop, but it also is very important for kind of establishing the tone of the piece. That's very important, again, to create engagement and to create experiences for the characters. So you can see they're all kind of interrelated. Finally, pace. Well, pace is very important in terms of establishing tone. Because, for example, say you want to do a fast pace, then that creates excitement in the tone or anxiety and panic in the tone, depending on if it's a positive or a negative story. It's again about tone. With creative writing, the 4 Ps, that's really the starting point. So as you're planning your story, and by the way, we're going to get into timings for the AQA and other exam boards later, but that is what you do to start your planning. You plan out the people, the plot, the place, and the pace, okay? And that's a nice, easy thing. I'm the king of acronyms. So there's your acronym for today, or one of your major acronyms. What we had written here for last week for transactional writing obviously is not relevant today for creative writing. So we're just going to edit this text and look at the correct type of question. It would be more likely something like, write about your favorite holiday. Sorry, I want to put it down here. I guess I'll handwrite it then. Write about your favorite holiday. With transactional writing, you have Forest, which is what you should memorize. And if you haven't looked at my transactional writing video, that's really useful for creative writing. For today, you need something a lot shorter, but still very, very important to flesh out your plan, the bones, which is your PPPP that we've just talked about. In terms of acronym for this, it's called JAM wins. The J stands for juxtaposition. Juxtaposition is a really useful tool for creating a more dynamic story, having these deliberate contrasts between characters, light and dark, different settings, different moods. Deliberately setting up contrasts within your piece through juxtaposition will really help improve your piece. Then we've got A. A stands for alliteration. And alliteration is still a very important technique for story writing. It helps generally with kind of the way that the story sounds. Some stories, whether you actually verbally speak it out loud or just are reading it inside your head, having interesting sounds and alliterations just makes the story again more engaging. So it's definitely worth having. The third one is Metaphors, obvious why you would want some metaphors in your story. You want to have some really interesting imagery, some interesting ways of describing thoughts and feelings about different parts of your story as well. W is actually for words, but I want you to think about this more in terms of vocab. As you're doing your story, you want to be using really impressive vocab choices. That's really, really important within your story. The I stands for imagery, just having really good, vivid imagery, especially for your characters, so your people and your place. It's really important that you have a very clear, vivid image for the reader to engage with those elements. Then you've got N, which stands for nouns, but this is really a reminder word for nouns, verbs, adverbs, adjectives, prepositions, pronouns, etc. So just try and make sure as you're describing your characters, describing your places, describing the plot, you're using a vivid range of, different interesting noun choices, adverb choices, adjective choices. Your choice of certain word classes will also boost your vocab. The final one is S, and the S stands for similes and personification. Similes and personification. So similes is important for the same reason as metaphors. Personification is really interesting, especially for bringing certain bits of like the setting alive, giving human qualities to buildings or, nature. That can be really interesting to add more atmosphere and tone to your story. Then we've just got a bunch of blue dots that we don't need for today, so I'm just going to get rid of them. To recap, we've got creative writing. The first thing you do is you use people, plot, place, and pace. That's going to help you create characters that drive your plot forward, create an engaging, interesting experience for your reader. The plot needs to have juicy, interesting storylines to engage the reader and make sure they're having a good experience while they're reading your work. And then the place, which is the setting, and the pace, which is how fast your actual writing is going, will create an interesting set of tones or moods, atmospheres. So that's the first bit, the bones. The second bit, once you've established your bones, is to create, using jam wins, a fleshed out story. So using juxtaposition, alliteration, metaphors, word choices, imagery, nouns, and similes, you're trying to make sure that you create interesting description and imagery and connotations, just something very vivid in the reader's mind. Those two things link together. Then we've got this huge mess here, which I'm going to try and update and make a lot more pretty. I'm going to focus mostly on AQA, and I think I'm just going to get rid of all of this for now. This was all the timings for transactional writing, which again, I don't think we need. So let's see if we can get a much more beautiful version of this. And I will make sure that I explain where the overlaps are between transactional writing as well, because there are a lot of overlaps with the timings of these two writing types. So we got rid of all of that. Let me zoom it out. I'll just put it here. Try AQA at the top so it's nice and clear that that's the main exam board we're talking about. But I just want, if you're Edexcel or OCR, remember that these timings are incredibly similar and we could tweak those slightly. If you join my Circle community, all the links are in the description, then for free there's chats on timings for all the different exam boards as well. So if you're not AQA specifically, that could help. And if you've enjoyed this video so far, please consider liking, subscribing, and like I said, joining the community. That would be really great. It's all free of charge content. I've been doing this for 15 years. I know exactly what I'm doing. I can definitely help you get to the next level in your English. We've got 2 scenarios for extra time students also, and make sure that they feel included from the very beginning. In terms of creative writing, you've got 45 minutes total if you are non-extra time, and you've got 57 minutes total if you are extra time. What I would do, I've been doing this and telling students to do this for about 15 years. Like if I'm a non-extra time student, I'm using about 10 minutes to do my PPPP, my 4 Ps, and then adding some considerations to jam wins. If I'm an extra time student, then I'm spending about 15 minutes on this exact same process. Okay, so exactly the same. You're doing jam wins, you're doing the 4 Ps. Number 1 is the 4 Ps, and then number 2 is the jam wins. Understand, like, in a concrete way how that looks, I should actually go back to the PP. In a normal creative writing story, you're probably looking at about 3 to 4 main paragraphs. As you're planning this story, you're sort of thinking, okay, in paragraph 1, here are the people, the characters, here is the plot that's going to happen in this paragraph. Here's the place, the setting, right? And this is the tone and pace that I'm trying to create. There's going to be about 3 to 4 major main paragraphs on this. Let me just add that in quickly to this side because that's going to be important. In terms of what's next, once you've done your 4 Ps and your jam wins, you are going to go to your writing time. You can see how much better this version is though, can't you, compared to the first version that I deleted. If you're a non-extra time student, obviously that means that you've got about 35 minutes to do this. Okay, so 10 plus 35, right? You've got roughly 42 minutes. The outcome is exactly the same, whether you're an extra time student or a non-extra time student. You're trying to do about 4 main paragraphs. I'm going to leave it there for today. That is everything for today's session. If that's been helpful, please do smash that like button, subscribe, join my community. All the details are down below. And to finish every video, I just let you know my mission as an English teacher. So my job is to get you to a level 6. Everything that I produce is completely free of charge. Once you get to level 6, you have the option to apply for my premium course. That's much more one-to-one time with me and my team. And then I will do everything I can to get you from your level 6 to maximize your chances of getting to level 9. And that's my main specialty that I've been working on for the last pretty much 20 years at this point. So I hope that was useful. I'll see you in the next one.